Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24, today from Washington, D.C.
Our guest today is Pete Souza, former chief official White House photographer for President Barack Obama. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You shadowed him for the whole 8 years of his presidency, and as a result, you published a book, Obama, an Intimate Portrait, that we have here. You used to have a front row seat to every White House intrigue. Now, how does it feel being watching the things from the outside?
The day I left the White House, there's a sense of relief and accomplishment both. Accomplishment because I had done this job for 8 years, and relief, it's a job that's really, really hard to be on call essentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 8 years. So I was glad to be leaving the White House when I did.
Do you miss being at the heart of politics? Or?
I don't actually. I worked so hard for 8 years that it was not hard for me to walk away. I don't miss going to the White House every day. I really miss the people. That's the one thing I miss the most. Not just the Obama people, but the people, you know, there's a whole group of people that work at the White House that stay there no matter who the president is. And I'm talking about Secret Service, the White House butlers, the ushers, the groundskeepers, the pastry chef. I just miss that whole group of people that you would interact with, so many of those.
Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with the US president, with Barack Obama. You saw pretty much everything, didn't you? From Barack Obama, the first-year senator from Illinois, the US president inside the White House and abroad, the family man, maybe also your friend. Tell us a little bit about how your relationship with the president changed from official White House photographer to maybe confidant and friend and back again.
Yeah, I mean, I got to know him when he was a senator. I was working for the Chicago Tribune. I spent, 2 or 3 years photographing him. And so he got to know me professionally. But he also got to see how I worked. I tell people I work with a small footprint. I try not to interfere with what's going on. Just trying to make candid pictures of whatever happens. And I think that's why he chose me to be his photographer. But then, once you become the White House photographer, I'm in every meeting, I'm at every event, I'm with his family when other people aren't. And so you really, the relationship grew into more of a friendship. I mean, I think I was treated as part of the family almost.
For someone who makes their living as a photographer, how would you describe Barack Obama in words this time?
How would I describe him in words?
Not in pictures.
I would say that he is a very disciplined man, disciplined about his work habits, his diet, his exercise. He's probably has a better sense of humor than people maybe realize. And he's a decent man. I mean, he's someone that I've learned a lot from, just the way he conducts his life.
So you just saw Barack Obama at the unveiling of his official portrait.
Yeah.
How is he doing, and what are you talking about these days?
We didn't have that much time to talk because it was kind of a ceremonial day, and there were so many people around, and I didn't want to take up his time. But we just kind of quickly caught up on, how everybody okay, how's the family? He's asking about my wife. Just sort of that kind of chit-chat stuff.
And when you see him, is politics part of the topics?
Not usually. I mean, maybe the first time I saw him it was, but, I was with him. He had this birthday celebration last July or August, I forget which weekend it was, with a bunch of his friends, and I came and was with him for 2 days, and there was like no talk of politics. It was just what's going on in everybody's life. Let's have some fun. Let's play some football toss and things like that. So there was no talk of politics. I'll let him leave that with his political people.
In the foreword of your book,
Yeah.
He says that you're like a brother to him. How do you explain this bond between you two?
He knew that I had photographed everything that he had experienced. And I think because of that, there's just this bond between us that, will never be broken because I was always present.
Quite a lot of people don't know that you were an official White House photographer, not just for Barack Obama, but also for Ronald Reagan, one Democrat, one Republican. Was there
I was a very young man then.
Was there ever any part of you now, or rather around a year ago, that would have said you might want to be a photographer for US President Donald Trump as well? Is that something that you might have done?
No, but I don't. But I wouldn't have done it for President Hillary Clinton either. Again, this job just takes so much out of you that it was really time for me to step aside.
And so you're very famous on Instagram now, not only in the US, but in the world. Some people say that you're trolling President Trump by posting pictures of Obama almost on a daily basis. For instance, recently you posted a picture of him with Robert Mueller, the former FBI director, who is now the man leading the Russia investigation. Are these constant reminders of Obama presidency a way to protest the new administration?
The way I present my Instagram feed is certainly a lot more respectful and subtle than what some people do on Twitter, for instance. So I think people can read into it what they want. And rather than tell people what I'm trying to do, I'll let them look at the photographs I post and what I write, and they can draw their own conclusions.
But the captions are pretty revealing. So isn't it a way to criticize President Trump?
That's the great thing about a photograph is it's very, it's a subjective medium, photography is. And people will look at certain pictures in different ways, and I'll let them draw their own conclusions.
Let's get back to what's in the book that we have here. We've each picked one photo that we'd like to talk about a little bit more in detail.
I'm looking forward to this.
You might have heard of these photos. They're among the most famous ones, I think. I picked one from the very start of the Obama presidency. It's the President Barack Obama, and the First Lady in a freight elevator.
Yeah.
This is between inaugural balls in 2009. It's a very intimate portrait. Can you take us back to this time, that photo itself, but also this time during which a lot of people believed in hope and change?
The picture shows them, they're almost touching foreheads, very sort of semi-private moment. I say semi-private because you see staff and Secret Service in the background.
And you're there.
I'll try not to look, but I'm sure the circumstances of this man and this woman becoming First Lady and President is just extraordinary. From where how they started, how they grew up. It ended really late, ended like 3 in the morning, and then 9 a.m. the next morning, the president walks in the Oval Office for the first time. And it's like, okay, we got that stuff out of the way, and now it's time to deal with this economy. Because if you go back to 2009, we were in the middle of this big financial crisis. So it's sort of like one day of, sort of partying and celebrating, and then right away the next day, starting to get to work.
I chose one of your most iconic pictures, the one in the Situation Room during the raid against bin Laden. How did you stay focused during such dramatic moments?
It was easy not to be distracted. Now, the difficulty in that situation was this was not the big Situation Room. They were in this little tiny conference room, and everybody was jammed in there, literally jammed in there. So I had like 2 people basically touching me when I was in that room photographing. I couldn't move around that much. So the challenge was just some of the technical aspects of photography, making sure I had enough depth of field, waiting for, everyone to react. And, we were in there for, I think, 40 minutes or something like that. And so a lot of the pictures are somewhat similar, but I think I chose the right one. And the great thing about the U.S. is all my pictures are saved. So every picture that I ever took is in the National Archives. And eventually, people will be able to see every single picture I took in the room that day. And they'll get to decide, did I choose the right one? I think I did.
So out of those 1.9 million photos that will be available at some point to all of us, which one's your favorite?
I mean, I got to admit that probably this is one of my favorites. I don't know if it is my favorite. This is a young boy, Jacob Philadelphia, who's 5. And he had said to the president that his friends had told him that his haircut was just like the president's. So the president bent over and little Jacob touched his head. And you know, the thing that I think that picture resonates with a lot of people is you've got this 5-year-old African-American kid touching the head of the President of the United States who looks like him. And I think because of that reason, people gravitate towards that picture.
In France, Emmanuel Macron's photographer takes you as an example to follow. How do you feel that Emmanuel Macron's photographer takes you as a model?
Well, first, I'm honored. You know, I think because I happen to be the photographer when social media exploded in the White House, so a lot of my pictures became public sooner than in past administrations. And I think that has had an impact on other political photographers around the world, which I think is a good thing. And I think it actually helps other world leaders see if you do give your photographer access, he or she can make these authentic pictures instead of, you know, just a ceremonial and stiff pictures. I think authenticity and transparency is a good thing.
Finally, Mr. Souza, let's look into the future. Is there maybe a presidential candidate you might want to follow as a photographer, as an official photographer, maybe in the run-up to the 2020 election here in the United States?
I don't know. Like the thing that I'm trying to figure out is even if I actually want to have anything to do with the next election, part of me wants to just, you know, move on. You know, I think I've done a pretty good job with photographing President Obama, and now I think it's up to let other people do the work. As my mom told me, my mom is 91. She was asking me if Joe Biden was going to run. I said, I don't know. I think so. And she said, well, if Joe Biden runs, this is a 91-year-old. She goes, if Joe Biden runs for president, I'm going to volunteer for him. You know.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching us. Stay with us on France 24.